Hey loves, it's Lisa Charnay and I'm back with another video. So this has been a really good week for me so far. So I was thinking it would be cool to do a positive video this week. Sending good vibes your way. We don't want to focus on our shortcomings this week. We don't want to focus on the hardships. We are going to celebrate ourselves, celebrate our progress. So I had my therapy session this week on Monday and I was giving her a rundown of how I did last week and, what all I went through, what went on in my mind, how my mental state was just overall. And I kind of felt a little down on myself because I was like, dang, I did so good for the first 2 weeks. Well, first let me say that I usually go to therapy every 2 weeks, but I've been making a lot of progress. So she thought it would be a nice idea to kind of stretch a little bit to see how I do. So I went 3 weeks instead. And I mean, as y'all know, that last week was a little rough. So I felt a little down on myself. Like, dang, I was so close. I let myself down a little bit because I'm on here giving you guys tips on what to do. And I'm not even doing it. Didn't even take my own advice. Of course, we all do that. So y'all know how in my last video I was saying how I was sad, but that next day I was going to get up, motivate myself, and, build myself back up. I didn't do none of that. I went to work late that next day, probably like an hour, because I could not get out of bed, y'all. I was just in a negative space. Like, everything was aggravating me. I couldn't snap out of it. So I did manage to make it to work, but I had to end up talking to my supervisor to, give him a rundown of what was going on, because I've been late a couple of times this month. So, of course, as I'm telling him what I'm dealing with, I break down and cry. I had to go to the bathroom, get myself together real quick, come back. So that made me feel a little messed up because I'm like, dang, I was trying to stretch for this week, but I might need to call her today. Then that next day, we were out for the hurricane, luckily, because I needed that day to get myself together, and it worked. One of my friends reached out to me, gave me some encouragement that made me feel good, and reminded me, like, you know what? I haven't been doing any of my coping skills. That's the reason why my mood is off. So she got me in check with that. And I also started meditating. And that, let me tell y'all, that's been a game changer for real. Like, anytime I feel my mood shifting, I meditate. Works wonders. And I do guided meditation because I overthink a lot and my mind is always like running crazy. So what's helped me is guided meditations. So that way you get like the positive affirmations and the meditation in one. So that's what I've been doing. So I did that Thursday. I did like an hour-long meditation. That's the longest I've ever been able to do it. But I was really trying to get myself together, and it worked. I was renewed. I watched my little videos on YouTube that get me inspired. I have certain channels that I watch that do that for me. And I was good to go. Saturday rolls around. I'm in a good mood too. Then I come home and my mood shifts again, and I'm like, what is going on? Every time I try to take a step forward, I take 2 steps back. What is going on? So I was feeling a little down on myself, didn't want to be around nobody. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to sit here, I'm going to get me some wine or something, and I'm going to just drink by myself. So then I'm like, no, we're not going to do that. You're going to sit here and meditate. So I did that. I started feeling good. I felt a little better. So I'm like, you know what? Let me try to write some music, because I said I wanted to get back into writing and just singing in general. So I'm like, let me try that. So that ended up being successful. I'm like, okay, I still got my little skills. That pepped me up. And I'm like, you know what? I am going to hang out. So I went to my friend's house, and then I get there and they're happy to see me. And there was somebody there telling me how, she's really enjoying and relating to my videos, and how she started journaling because of me. And then everybody else started saying how much they can relate to my videos, and that made me feel good. So that gave me the boost I needed to get through the rest of the night and the rest of the week. So I told her that, but the thing is, I was focused on just the fact that my mood kept shifting down, even though I kept trying to be positive. But she saw it as, well, you noticed that you were in a low space, you meditated, That made you feel better. So you did something else. You wrote music. That made you feel better. And then you went out. You socialized. So to me, it looked like you handled it well. And I was like, I did handle it well. So give yourself props. Show yourself some love. Because even though you might not have even though things might not have went the way that you thought they should have, bruh, why I can't talk? Even though things didn't go the way you thought, as long as you're picking yourself back up each time, then you won. You winning. You shining. And just celebrate that. Focus on that. I want to use that as a reminder that we should stop being so hard on ourselves. Like, we can't beat ourselves up when things don't go our way, or when there's a curveball thrown in the plan. It's part of life. It's ups and downs. You're not always going to be feeling 100%. But as long as you get up and keep moving, like, that's all that matters. So what I took from this therapy session is to identify the things that you did do. Even if, say, you set a specific goal for yourself and you might not have gotten to that point, what were the things that you were successful in doing? Did you get closer to that goal? Did you do something that was out of your norm? Like, you might not be in the place that you want to be right now, but I'm sure you've made some kind of progress. It doesn't have to be a set timeline on when you have to do things. You could take your time and take baby steps. Do a little more each day. And even if you didn't accomplish anything, celebrate that. Celebrate your hardships. Celebrate your failures, because it's going to shape your character to who you're going to be in the future. We all learn from our mistakes. Experience is the best teacher. So I guess you have to think of it like that. You have to find a positive in every situation, because your mindset is the determining factor on whether you succeed or whether you fail. If you're thinking negative and you're down on yourself, like, oh, I can't do this, or I shouldn't have tried, or it's never going to happen for me, then it's not going to happen. You're the determining factor. If you feel like you can get it done, then it's going to get done. And you just got to go through the process, but it's all good. When you do get to the point of where you want to be and you look back on the things that you went through to get to that point, it's going to mean so much more. And try to focus on that part. No negativity this week. We're focusing on the positive things, keeping a positive attitude no matter what life throws at us. And then, too, the biggest battles are thrown at you when you're the closest to where you're trying to get to. So you can look at it that way, too. Like, Lord, it's raining, but it ain't gonna rain forever, and it's a test. You gotta pass that test, and then you're gonna get there. So just try to keep that in mind for the rest of this week, and show yourself some love. You deserve it.